Okay, here we go, guys. Here we go. Zero and negative exponents. We're going to talk about exponents of zero and exponents that are negative. If you have an exponent of zero, it is equal to 1. Here's why. If I have x to the fourth over x to the fourth, well, that's a horrible x to the fourth. There we go, x to the fourth. We said anything over itself is equal to 1 in disguise, right? So we know this equals 1. Well, we also know by our power rules that when we have the same base in the numerator and denominator, we subtract the exponents, so we get x to the 0. So therefore, anything to the 0 power equals 1. A negative exponent tells you to move it to the other side of the fraction bar. So if you've got a negative exponent in the numerator, you move it to the denominator and make it positive. Negative exponent in the numerator, you move it to the denominator and make it positive. What if it's in the denominator? You move it to the numerator and make it positive. If you have an entire fraction to a negative power, you're going to flip the fraction. You're just going to flip everybody, move them to the other place, and make it positive. We're going to look at lots of examples that'll make more sense. Oh my gosh, 16 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Bada bing, bada boom, we're done. Now on this one, remember our creepers? This creeper is creeping on the house right here. The 5 is outside of the parentheses. It's outside of the house. It's safe. It's not getting creeped on. So the 5 stays a 5. But this part is anything to a 0 power, so it equals 1. So now what is 5 times 1? 5. So you got to watch. Remember, the power only goes to what's inside the parentheses. Everything outside is not affected. Oh, there we go. Negative exponent. Currently, it's up in the numerator. We don't like it there, so we're going to move it from the numerator down to the denominator and make it positive. Now, there's nothing in the numerator. We have to have something up there, so we put a 1. On this, we've got two variables. We've got an x and we've got a y. If we draw our fraction bar, this x to the negative 2 is a negative exponent, a negative power. It has the power to ruin our lives. So we're going to move it from the top down to the bottom, and it's going to become positive. When we do that moving, it stays, or it becomes positive. This y right here, it's just y. It's actually y to the first. 1 is positive, so it just stays right where it is. It doesn't do any moving. Okay, oh my gosh. On this one, I'm going to do what's called play the stay or move game. Okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to set up my fraction bar and I'm going to look at each term. Look at the a to the negative 3. Does it have a negative exponent? It sure does. So to get rid of that negative exponent, we're going to take it from the numerator, move it to the denominator, and make it positive. We're done with him now. Be gone. C to the second. It's got a power. Is the power negative? Nope. So it just stays right where it is. And it's done. We've talked about it already. B to the negative 5. It's got a power. It's negative. So we're going to move it up to the top and turn that power into a positive. Now it's done. And the last one we've got, c to the 5th. It's got a power, but it's positive, so we just leave it where it is. The next game we're going to play is called Clean Up. Okay, so we're going to look at the C's. I've got C's on top and on the bottom. Where are there more C's? There are more C's on the bottom, so that's where they're going to stay. And how many more are there? 5. Take away those 2 that we're going to cancel out, and we get 3. Now look at the B's. That's the only B, so it stays where it is. Look at the A's. That's the only A, so it stays where it is. We didn't have any other cleaning up to do. So that's my answer. Okay, so here is checkpoint 1. Remember the rules. Anything to the 0 power equals 1. A negative in the top, we don't want it there. We move it to the bottom and make it positive. a negative in the denominator. We don't want it there. We move it to the top and make it positive. So play the stay or move game, then clean them up. Pause the video. See you soon. Okay, now look at this. This one is actually, we've already done this, haven't we? We've got three houses, the X house, the Y house, and the Z house. So I'm going to look at the X's. So right now I can cross all this off. I'm not looking at those. I'm only looking at the X's. Where are there more X's? Up on top. How many more? 7. Take away the 6 that would cancel, gives me 1. Okay, now I'm done looking at the X's. I don't want to look at the Z's. I'm only looking at the Y's. So here's the Y's. That's where my little eyeballs are right now. I'm looking right there. There's more Y's on the bottom. How many more? We've got 12. 3 of them are going to cancel, so I have 9. Get rid of those. Bring up the Z's. I'm going to look at the Z's now. Here's my Z's. Where are there more Z's? Well, there aren't. There's the same amount on the top and the bottom. Now remember, if I subtracted, I would get Z to the 0, which means that equals 1. Lazy man's way is just cancel them out. All right, again, I'm going to divide this into 3 houses, and for right now, I'm not going to look at these. I'm just going to look at the 24 over 36. So here's what's going on in my head. 24 over 36 is a fraction. I can reduce it. They both divide by 2. That gives me 12 over 18. Oh my gosh, they're still even. So I can divide by 2 again. That gives me 6 over 9. Oh my gosh, they divide by 3. Keep going. That gives me 2 over 3. So that's what 24 over 36 reduces to. That's just like 3rd grade. You learned how to simplify fractions a long time ago. So that's what you're going to do with those. Do not turn it into a decimal. We're done with those. Now, I'm not going to look at the Y's. I'm only going to look at the X's. So here's my X's. Are there any negatives that have to move? Nope. Where are there more X's? There's more X's on the bottom. How many more? I've got 8 on the bottom. I'm going to take 5 away that are going to cancel, so I have 3. I'm done looking at the X's now. Now I'm going to look at my Y's. Where are there more Y's? There's more Y's on the bottom. How many more? I have 10. I'm going to take away the 4 that cancel, so my answer is 6. Honestly, this is the part that's going to mess you up, the simplifying fractions, because you guys don't like fractions. So learn to love the fractions. Okay, if you look at this one, the first thing that my little eyes see are all of these negative exponents. If you've got negative exponents, we're going to play the stay or move game. So 75, it stays. P to the 3rd, it stays. Q to the negative 5, it's got a negative exponent, so I'm going to move it down to the bottom. Now, this next one is just a little hitch in our get along. We don't like it. Negative 15. Oh, I've got to move it. I've got to move it. No, we're not going to move it because it's just a negative numbers. Negative numbers can exist. They can exist anywhere in the world. Negative exponents are not allowed. Now, here's the deal, though. I don't really like that negative down in the denominator, so I am going to move the negative to the top, but I'm going to leave the 15 where it is. So I did move the negative. I just didn't move the number with it. So now I'm going to look at the P to the 5. It's positive, so I'm just going to leave it where it is. I'm going to look at the Q to the negative 4. It's got a negative exponent. Negative powers are not possible. We've got to move them to the other side. It's in the bottom, so I'm going to move that Q to the top. The negative 4 is going to become positive 4. And then I have this R to the negative 8. Again, negative power, negative exponent, not allowed. So I'm going to move it from the bottom to the top, and the negative is going to become positive. So now I have to take care of all of the different little houses. So I've got negative 75 over 15. I can divide both of those by 5. Oh, let's see, the easy one on the bottom is 3. This one is negative 15. I can divide both of those by 3. So it's negative 5 over 1. So I'm going to put the negative 5 in the numerator. You can put the 1 in the denominator, but you don't have to. Let's look at the p's. Here's my p's. Where are there more p's? I got p's in the denominator, 5 in the denominator. I'm going to take the 3 away. That would cancel with it, leaving me with 2 p's. Here's my q's. Got more q's in the denominator. Got the 5. Take away the 4 that would cancel, leaves me with 1. That's a horrible looking 1. Do I need the 1? No. And then who's just standing up here by himself? Big old rooster 8. Put the r to the 8. I don't like that one there. It just kind of messes with me. I truly don't like that one there. So that's my final answer. Okay, I'm going to be honest. You leave the ones, I'm going to give it to you. So our secret word today is grace. You leave the ones, I'll give you the points, okay? Grace, 1 is okay. Okay, I would draw a picture of Grace, but I don't know what she looks like. Okay, slide 12. Oh my gosh, so much going on here. So I'm going to first play the stay or move game. Now, this little time sign right here, that's just to mess with your mind. You still have everything in the numerator and everything in the denominator. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this x to the negative 6. Does it stay? No. Negative exponent moves to the opposite side and becomes positive. The next thing I see is this z. It's got a positive exponent, so I'm just leaving it up in the numerator. The next thing I see is this y to the negative 4. Negative exponent, it's in the numerator, it's in the denominator. I'm going to move it to the numerator and make it positive. I'm going down my list of colors. I hope I don't have too many more. Z to the 9th, it's got a positive power, so I'm leaving it in the denominator. I'm going to take it, leave it as z to the 9th. Then this guy right here is a creeper. So what do I have to do? I have to multiply my exponents, and 2 times 2 is 4. Is it positive? Yes. So it's going to stay where it is. Okay, now from there, I'm going to go and take things apart. I've got 5 z's on top, 9 z's on the bottom. There's more z's on the bottom. Start with the 9, take away the 5 that would cancel, and you have 4. Here's a y. I got 4 y's on top, 4 y's on the bottom. Oh, 4 minus 4 is 0, which means they equal 1, so they cancel. And then this is my only x, so I'm going to put x to the 6. Now that looks silly. What do we need up on top? We need to put a 1. So if you have a numerator without a number in it, you have to put a 1. Okay. On this one, because I've got a creeper of a very messy house. Oh my gosh, if I'm in a horror film and my house is messy and I'm going to die, I want my house clean. So the first thing I'm going to say is, can I clean up inside? And the answer is, I don't know, I got to look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, put my line, put my there, put my 3. How about 4 over 5? Does that reduce? Nope. So I'm going to leave it 4 over 5. Oh my gosh, you guys, this didn't clean up at all. My house is just a hot mess. Oh, that's so sad. Run away. Okay, now I'm going to take that, and the creeper is creeping on everything. So remember, every single thing inside is going to get that creeper. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to take the 4, it gets a creeper of 3. I'm going to take the c to the 3rd, it gets a creeper of 3. I'm going to take the d to the 2nd, it gets a creeper of 3. It's actually a creepy looking 3, isn't it? I lost my pen. Where's my pen? There it is. Got down on the bottom, I got a 5, gets a creeper of 3. E to the 4th gets a creeper of 3. F to the 7th gets a creeper of 3. Now we got to take care of all those creepers. 4 to the 3rd, remember, means 4 times 4 times 4. So 16 times 4 is 64. In variables, I can't do c times c times c and find out what that is. I just going to multiply my exponents, power to a power, or a creeper. Creepers multiply your fear, power to power, you multiply your exponents. 3 times 3 is 9. I've got a d, power to a power, multiply the exponents. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 to the third means 5 times 5 times 5. So that's 25 times 5, which is 125. My base of e has a power to a power, which means I multiply, so it's e to the 12th. My base of f, I got a power to a power, which means I multiply, which is 21. I'm going to double, triple check and make sure that I didn't have any c's on top and the bottom that I have to clean up, but I don't have any. Since 4 over 5 didn't reduce, 64 over 125 won't reduce either. Oh, this one's a mess. So on this one, when I look inside my house, there's all sorts of cleaning I can do. That's much more realistic. So secret word number 2 is embarrassing. Mrs. Evans has a messy house. Oh, so sad. Okay. Does this 5 move? Nope. Leave it there. That's a horrible 5. That's messy. It's a messy 5. How about this b to the negative 2? Does it move? Yup. Drop it to the bottom. Make it positive. How about the n to the 4th? Nope. It's a positive power. It stays where it is. What about z to the negative 6? Oh, that's negative. Move it down to the bottom. Take it to the bottom. Make it positive. Going back to our numbers, 15, it's positive. Numbers never move. Only variable terms move. So, well, that's not true. A number could move if it has a negative power. Okay, forget I said that. I would erase it, but I don't know how. So 15 is positive. It's a number. It doesn't have a negative exponent. We're going to leave it right there. So let's look at the b's. b to the 5th, it's positive. It's staying right where it is, down in the bottom. N to the 2nd, it's got a positive power. It stays right where it is. Leave it in the bottom. This z to the negative 3 has a negative power, so we move it up to the top and make it positive. So that part from here to here, that was the stay or move game, okay? Now we're going to go in, because you feel bad for me, you're going to go in and you're going to clean up my house. So look at the 5 over 15. Does that reduce? 5 over 15. I can divide them both by 5. It reduces to 1 over 3. I've got 4 n's on top. Any n's on the bottom? Yep, right there. There's more on top. We've got to start with the 4. Take away the 2 that would cancel. It's going to leave me with 2. Z's, 3 on the top, 6 on the bottom. More are on the bottom, so I'm going to put the z's on the bottom. Start with 6, take away the 3 that would cancel, leaves me with 3. B's, I've got all my b's are on the bottom, so they stay on the bottom. This time I've got 5. I'm adding 2 more for a total of 7. I personally feel like we've been on this slide for a really, really, really long time, but we still are not done because now we've got a creeper. So we first did the stay or move, then we cleaned up inside. Now we're going to deal with the creeper. Everybody's in the house. Everybody gets the creeper. So look at all these creepers I'm giving. Write down every term and give him the creeper of 2. How come? Because everybody's in the house. Everything's being taken to the power of 2. And now I'm going to do 1 to the 2nd power. That means 1 times 1, which is 1. Remember, when I take a power to a power, it multiplies. So that's n to the 4th, because 2 times 2 is 4. 3 squared means 3 times 3. That is 9. Power to a power right here. I'm going to keep the base of z. 3 times 2 is 6. Power to a power right here. Going to keep the base of b. 7 times 2 is 14. And there is my final answer. Whew! I am exhausted. Oh my goodness, people. I'm just exhausted. Oh, well, that's a good thing because we're at checkpoint 2. So on checkpoint 2, you are looking for anything to the 0 power, remember, is 1. Anything, that's a funny looking anything. Anything to a negative moves. If it's in the top, it moves to the bottom. If it's in the bottom, it moves to the top. Then you're going to clean up, combine all your tops, all your bottoms, clean up your inside. Then you're going to take care of the power to a power or a creeper. Holy McMoly, you guys have fun with that. See ya.